The Pittsburgh Steelers are a franchise known for stability, and that stability is in the front office, the coaching staff, and the roster, and specifically on the roster at a few positions, almost most notably the center position. From 1974 to 2020, the Steelers' center position was dominated by three players: Mike Webster, Dermontti Dawson, and Maurkice Pouncey. That's two Hall of Famers and a guy who will probably be getting his gold jacket within the next decade. But since Pouncey retired, the Steelers have been looking for the answer in the middle of their offensive line, and to no avail. They drafted Kendrick Green in the third round the year that he retired, and that did not go very well. So much so that he actually got hurt late in his rookie season, and the Steelers' yards per carry jumped from 3.7 to 4.3 with J.C. Hassenauer at center, and J.C. Hassenauer has been a career practice squatter for the most part. They immediately tried to remedy this by going out and signing veteran center Mason Cole, who provided some stability to the position, but ultimately proved to be a problem by the end of his second year in the Steel City. All of this led them to draft Zach Frazier with the 51st pick in this year's draft, a strong, tough kid from West Virginia who the Steelers hoped would be next in line in their long history of centers. And through about 5.5 games, the returns are about as good as you could have possibly asked for. As I was in the process of making this video, Zach Frazier suffered a high ankle sprain that should keep him out for about 2 weeks. He's likely to come back after the bye, and this injury probably isn't a long-term concern, but I just wanted to get that out of the way early, and hopefully this video gives you some background information to look out for when he gets back. So now we can hop into the film review, and we'll start by talking about his ability in pass protection. Frazier stepped into the role of starting center after Nick Herbig suffered a season-ending shoulder injury in the preseason, and Frazier has been an absolute commander in that role. If you just watched his tape with no context whatsoever, you'd think he's a 10-year vet the way he IDs things and calls them out pre-snap. And Frazier's done a really good job taking on all the responsibility that comes with the center position, identifying defensive fronts, finding the mic, sometimes working with the quarterback to set the protection, and just generally communicating with the rest of the offense. And yes, some of these responsibilities are shared with the quarterback, but everything pre-snap runs through those two. And for Steelers specific purposes, veteran left guard Isaac Seumalo was not in the mix for the first 4 weeks, and now that Seumalo's back, James Daniels, the right guard, has a torn Achilles and is out for the year. So Frazier's really been the only steady part of that interior, and he's handled it very well. Something as simple as this play where they're facing a 4-down front, they should be able to block it up with Frazier sliding either way to help whichever guard needs it. But late in the play clock, Derwin James walks up to the line of scrimmage, and there's no issue. They're prepared, and they have 3 to fan out to 3 to block this up easily. He's also fantastic at picking up stunts. And if you don't know what a stunt is, it's also known as a twist. It's a type of game that defensive fronts do where two players, usually the tackle in the end, but it can also be the tackle and a blitzing linebacker or 2 tackles. It can be any of them. What they're doing is essentially switching spots, but one of them is known as the pinner, the picker, the jammer, the stunter, the penetrator. There's a whole bunch of names for him. I'm just going to go with pinner. His job is essentially to get in the way of his offensive lineman so that the looper, the other person in the stunt, can come around him and get a free rush on the quarterback. Simple concept, right? But it does confuse a lot of offensive linemen. Not Zach Frazier, though. Watch this play. The moment the ball is snapped, his eyes go up to Alex Singleton as a potential rusher, but he quickly realizes that he's the looper in this stunt that the Broncos are sending his way, so he immediately passes that off to James Daniels, who also does a very good job picking up this stunt, I will say, and Frazier takes the pinner. The only 3 pressures he gave up against the blitz this year were against the Broncos, and as I kind of just showed you, Vance Joseph is going to be doing some funky shit up front, so that makes sense. Moving on though, something else to look for in centers is their snap to stance time, and to no surprise, Zach Frazier's is very good. He's usually out of his stance before anybody else on the team, which it should be because he's the first person to know that the ball's being snapped. And if you've noticed, his hands are really solid for a rookie. Steelers offensive line coach Pat Meyer teaches something called independent hands, and Frazier demonstrates it really well here. He's one-on-one with Mozzie Smith, and by keeping his right and left hand punch separate, he's able to shoot the left hand under Smith's shoulder pad the moment he exposes his chest going for that right hand swipe, and then Frazier will throw his right hand afterwards to get control, and the pass per rep is 1. Now, if you want to see what the opposite of independent hands looks like, watch this Broderick Jones rep here, where he tries to punch with both hands rather than one, and he just gets swiped and beat around the edge. But my point is, Frazier's hand placement is really good. And this has made him a really solid pass protector as a rookie, which is pretty hard to do. Usually the pass protection element of offensive line play takes a lot longer to translate than the run blocking element. So for Frazier to be even slightly above average as a pass protector as a rookie is really impressive, especially at the center position when you're the one that has to constantly sort through all the trash and make sure that you're picking up the correct responsibility. Sure, his hands can get a little high sometimes, but if that's my biggest complaint with a rookie center 5 games into his career, I think I can live with that. And sudden lighting change. Yes, the lighting in my room has changed drastically since the beginning of the video. No, your computer or phone screen is not broken. And no, I am not going to spend 5 minutes explaining why the lighting has changed. I'm just going to take these 15 seconds. Now let's talk about his run blocking. So take everything I said about his pass blocking and then apply it to the run game only times 5. I said Frazier's been slightly above average as a pass protector, which is true, but he's been an absolute road grader in the run game. The Steelers as a team have had their struggles in the run game department, but injuries across the interior have contributed to that, and I certainly wouldn't pin this on Frazier. I think he's been the best part of their offensive line this year, and honestly, probably the best part of their offense as a whole. The strength that allows him to latch on to rushers and not let go also allows him to displace people in the run game, and that showed up immediately with 2 examples popping up right away in Week 1 in Atlanta. Being tasked with blocking Grady Jarrett in your first NFL game is not ideal, but on this play you can see the power in his hands to maintain a hold on him. And is this holding? Maybe. It didn't get called though. And then you see the strength in his lower half on this next play where he just effortlessly walks Eddie Goldman down the line to open up this cutback for Najee Harris to get a chunk gain. Now, it's also worth noting that he's very quick out of his stance, often getting a leverage advantage on his defender before they're even out of their stance. Now, he's not Tyler Linderbaum or any other super athletic center that teams are going to pull out to be the lead blocker on Q counter. That just isn't his game. But the quick get off does allow him to be a short puller on wide trap or things of that nature. All that being said, Zach Frazier's undeniable best trait in run blocking or overall is his ability to execute combo blocks and get to the second level. Something very important is that Arthur Smith loves running zone. Historically, he likes running outside zone more, as he demonstrated in Atlanta, ranking 31st in inside zone percentage while blowing the league out of the water in outside zone percentage. He's had to rein that in a little bit in Pittsburgh, ranking 14th in inside zone percentage and 7th in outside zone percentage, just a personnel thing. Regardless, they run a lot of zone, as they sit at 4th in the NFL at 63.78%. And zone runs require a lot of combo blocks, and Frazier is fantastic at executing them. This play should give you a better idea of what I mean when I talk about combo blocks. Frazier and Daniels are double teaming the nose on this weak zone play with the purpose of allowing Daniels to get to his front shoulder while climbing to the second level so that Frazier can peel off and take care of the linebacker that he's responsible for. The timing of when he peels off is very important, and for a rookie to have this down despite the constant rotating door at both guard positions is very impressive, because as I mentioned earlier, the Steelers have been decimated by injuries at the guard position, and Frazier has not had a consistent rapport with any of the players that he's been asked to do these blocks with on the season. Just going away from Frazier here for a second, I hope that helps you understand combo blocks a little bit better. Think of it as just 2 men blocking 2 defenders that are at 2 separate levels, and they both help block the first one, and then one peels off to take the guy at the second level. It's that simple. So coming full circle now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that the Steelers have a long lineage of centers, and I think they did it again. I think Zach Frazier is ready to anchor this offensive line for the next 10 years maybe. And some people might turn their nose up when I bring up names like Tyler Linderbaum or even Creed Humphrey and talk about how good their rookie seasons were when talking about Frazier. But his play thus far has warranted his name being in the same discussions as those guys were as rookies. Maybe not Creed Humphrey, because Creed Humphrey had an argument for best center in the NFL by the end of his rookie season, but still, Frazier's play thus far has been fantastic. He has been the best offensive player on the Steelers, and I can't sugarcoat that at all. I just feel very lucky that I get to watch this guy play for my team for the next however many years. That's all I got for today. Like if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for future content. We're going to have a lot more stuff throughout the season and beyond, so if you want to get on the train early, I would really appreciate that. Of course, if you have anything to add or any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comment section. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed. Until next time.